and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about
comic books, costumes,
facts, boots,
and other stuff.
in this week's issue.
All-Star Superman Part 2. Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I'm Zach, joined as always by the mighty man of... what are you a man of, Mike?
Man of moisture.
Mighty man of moisture,
Yeah,
Mr.
just
Mike.
Swampy down there all the time.
Usually a world's finest Wednesday edition, but for the next 2 weeks, it's just a continuation of our regular show, and we have part 2 of All-Star Superman for you today. Broken up into 4 parts, so issues 4, 5, and 6 today. The 2016, how about the 2006 series by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. Again, here is my cover, the compact cover, or the compact comic edition. Here's my version. Sorry, my book that I own personally. But you can't read that one. What you can read, or see, is the one when I put it up here. If you haven't, go back. And Monday we did part 1, which is issues 1 through 3. And then next week we'll do 6, or I guess 7 through 12 to get you ready for the Superman movie that is coming up, or that will release on Friday.
What?
Worldwide. Yeah,
what
it comes out on Friday.
Movie? What are you talking about?
Oh, you haven't heard about this?
Huh?
There's
Who knew?
There's a Superman movie. Did you want to talk about something before I got into?
I'm not
I'm
going
going
to subject you to that. It was Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is one of the most boring things you'll ever. It's a motivational theory. I'm just going to read this to you real quick. It's a motivational theory. Yeah, I know I said I wouldn't do it. In psychology, proposed by Abraham Maslow, outlining 5 levels of human needs: physiological, safety, love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. So this, again, is one of those things that educators use as kind of a crutch. But does it fit Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Shut up. That's somebody mentioned it earlier today, and it's one
been
of those,
in your okay.
Well, it's one of those things that just gets recycled in education, and it's just do what's right for the kid. There you go, done.
I got you for sure. All right, well, let's go ahead and let's dive into, without further ado.
Let's get to Superman Evil.
We're not gonna waste any time today. We are going to dive right into. I do have something else. Last week I played
freaking rainbow coat.
Last week, well, you'll see why.
Okay.
On Monday, I played a little clip from James Gunn himself talking about what they took from All-Star Superman for the movie. I do have a quote from David Cornsweet himself, actually referencing a specific panel from this that we're going to cover today, but I'll wait before the issue to show that. So it's, it's very timely,
sure.
But we'll get into that. So let's go ahead and kick it off with issue 4. Came out in July of 2006, or at least that's the cover date. That is Jimmy Olsen on the cover, though. That is not Leo Quinton. So, you know what else we've been able to cover on the show through our history, our 4+ years now of doing the show?
What's up?
Is we've covered a couple of Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen.
We have.
So this is very much feels like an issue of Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen.
Okay.
We find out that whoever Jimmy's girlfriend is at the time, I don't know her name, and I feel bad. I should have looked that up.
Sally Jesse Raphael.
Ooh. I remember, didn't she have a talk show at one point in time?
Yep.
That is, hold on, I'm almost there. That was issue 3. That is Lucy Lane. My apologies.
Lucy Lane. Is she a stewardess?
I think she is here.
I'm just guessing by the pill hat.
Yeah. So Lucy Lane has made an appearance in we covered Lucy Lane. She was, remember when Jimmy married the gorilla? You'd have to go back. We did cover that for
Wait, say that one more time.
Jimmy married a gorilla. I'm pretty sure in one of the issues we covered of Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen.
Okay, great.
And she was in that issue. So we've covered Lucy before. But Lucy's talking about, like, Jimmy, how is this? We're through. Like, it shows that you're named the worst dressed man in Metropolis for the 2nd year in a row. And Jimmy's like, all right, hold on. That's not fair. Like, this year, It just so happened to be on the day that I was doing my article of I was down and out in medieval England, right? And the year before, I was celebrating my bronze medal success in the homeless Olympics. So they just picked the wrong days, right? They just picked the wrong days to have these. Like,
Did you just say the homeless Olympics?
That's what he says, the homeless Olympics.
Okay.
And he's just like, they essentially picked the wrong days to, pick me for worst dress. That's all it is. It's just a ruse against me, kind of. And he walks out telling her all this while he's dressed as he's dressing up as a woman, as you see him in the short shorts.
Yeah.
Because he's like investigative journalist. Like, that's the thing we've covered before, all of his disguises and stuff. But he has pitched an idea to Perry White for his next, I was a blank for a day.
Yeah.
And he's going to be Leo Quintum, who's the guy who went on the space trip. He wants to take over this project. I figured you appreciate this joke when he shows up.
Doesn't seem like an evil guy at all.
No, he's not though. He kind of seems like, but he's not. I hate to spoiler alert it, but he's not.
Okay.
So,
all right.
But he essentially just tells Jimmy we're going off to do this thing. Like they're going to visit this other what is this? That group of glowing people that they've met. They invited him to his home planet, so he's going to take him up on that.
Sure,
you have free
people.
reign over that. I don't know the name of it.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of.
They're glowers, not showers.
That's true. So Jimmy's walking around. He's like, all right, tell me all the dirt. If I'm in charge of this, this just a crazy amount of research and stuff that you want to do. I want to show me the black box. I want to know all the research and stuff like that. And they're walking by and they have that one thing that's a door that says do not open until Doomsday. And he's like, okay, what's in there? And she's like, it's something that we've researched. We're just still working on it. There's,
That's not ominous at all.
No. Well, he has
Do not open until Doomsday.
He has to use it eventually. Then they come across this place.
Are we talking about the guy? Doomsday?
Kind
of. Time.
I think it's both, but it is to the guy. You'll see.
All right.
They tell them they're digging in the underverse. Is that what they says? Yeah. It's exploring the world of super heavy gravity. They're kind of digging underneath where they are. I don't know. It's this weird thing. But the digging equipment gets stuck and sucked in by whatever they're trying to dig, and it's going to pull Jimmy in too. And you see the Z he's pushed his little wristwatch.
Yeah.
To ping Superman, and Superman's sitting there just in the room, talking to Perry, and Perry's like, oh man, Clark, this is some of the best journalism I've ever seen. Are you listening? I don't hand out praise that this for maybe another 100 years. Come on. And he's like,
it uses all the letters.
Yeah. And Clark's like, oh, sorry, Perry. I left my oven on. All right, I gotta go. I'll have the Luthor interview on your desk by Friday. And he's like, on what? Oh, because he's got to go to save Jimmy.
Yeah.
So Superman shows up. He's unable to rescue the worker that fell in, but he is able to help them pull out whatever they're what they were hooked on to that caused them to fall in.
Okay.
And what that was is black kryptonite.
Black kryptonite.
So it's a new kryptonite just for this. That's
Is that kind of like that black ice that you hang from your rearview mirror?
Very much so.
Okay.
And the gum, black ice.
Is there black ice gum?
Dentine ice black something. But
oh, okay. You know what I'm talking about, though, right? They sell the little Christmas tree that you hang from your
yeah, that's black ice.
Black ice on it.
Yeah.
Which I always thought was weird because what the hell does that smell like?
Black ice. And so Jimmy tells him a new kind of kryptonite. I don't like the look of this, Superman. K radiation can kill you. And he's like, Jimmy, not anymore since I'm immune to green kryptonite. I can't say that I really feel anything different. And it shows him looking at the kryptonite, and Superman's just sitting there kind of looking down at the Superman logo. And he goes, it's the signal watch. He looks up and looks at Jimmy. And he goes, I don't have enough to do without bailing you out of some stupid scrape every other day.
This is what it does to him.
He was like, you'd be dead without me.
Turns him into a dick.
Yeah, and Jimmy goes, that's before. He's up there. Jimmy goes, glad to hear it, Superman. Glad to hear. For a moment there, I couldn't help thinking about the gypsy's curse, because he's talked about that Jimmy has been saying that he's just a string of bad luck from the gypsy's curse that he has. And that's where
he got
Superman
gypsy cursed in one of the yeah, okay.
I think he did.
All right.
And
Jimmy gypsy cursed by a gorilla who dressed up like the Batman in Colombia.
Yep.
Yep.
Batman well.
Batman well.
No, it was Bat Hombre.
About on break.
And Jimmy's like, Superman, that rock, it did something to you, didn't it? And Superman's just getting angry, and he goes, it's just cheap moon-based furniture. Quantum's loaded anyway. Think about it. I probably increased the sell value of this thing with my autograph, kind of. And Jimmy's like, okay. Like, he's like getting up to try to get away.
Go back. I'll tell you the one thing I like about this entire page right here is the fact that he got up and the chair fell down. Like, the artist took the time to make it look like he got up real quick and that chair just fell over.
Uh-huh.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's
I'm telling
really
you,
cool.
Frank Quitely's art in this is fantastic.
That's a great little, I mean, because you don't have to do that.
No. Well, and that's the thing, too. Like, and you can tell, like, when he pushed himself up, he did it with force, too. Look at the edge of the table. It's, like, crumbled. And you can tell he's, like, probably angry, like, just pushed himself up. You're right. The small details like that. And he's like, okay, we can handle a Superman who's a little mischievous, maybe one a little annoying, but basically, and he's like, no. And then you can tell, like, Superman's fighting whatever this is. He's like, no, it's getting worse. Like, he's trying not to let whatever it is affect him. And he's just like, everything's gone opposite. Jimmy, I know what Black K does. And he, like, then you can tell, like, it's taken over. He's like, it makes me bad. And you know what?
Black K.
Part of me is starting to like the idea. Like, he's very much now, like, Homelander mode, kind of, in a sense. And he, like, shoots lasers over at Jimmy. And then he stops it. And he's like, no, do the opposite. Like, he's honest. Like, you see him, like, trying to talk himself out of this. He's like, I'm in a jam. I need your help. And then he cuts back to it. And he's like, look at these, like, they're swarming like feudal bugs in the sun. Who's going to stop me from doing anything I want, Jimmy Olsen? You? And he just, like, kind of laughs and just flies away. And Jimmy is like, all right, emergency, Project Red emergency. Like, we've got
right?
Yeah. So they're meeting. And you see, like, a bunch of those little Bizarro clones that are shot off, like they're being, like, shot out of, like, a moon-based kind of cannon system there, wherever they are. You see what I'm, saying at the top there?
I have a problem here.
Did your mic break? Yeah, hold on.
What happens when we get older?
Yeah, I'm gonna.
No, we're fine. We're fine. I'm gonna do it like this.
Okay.
All good.
And so
that was weird.
That was weird. But Jimmy's like, Black K did it. Jimmy's just like, what is our thing? Or like, what are our options? And she goes, well, Superman, like himself, helped create 3 anti-Superman weapons for us. One of them was kryptonite powered kind of here, and that's kind of currently ineffective then with all these Bizarro clones. And then she's like, the second weapon is the Phantom Zone cannon will shortly be released from its lead shielding and fired from an orbital location, kind of like at him. Like that's the failsafe they've come up with. But at least I like that they have a failsafe of
you have to.
We're gonna triangulate him and we're sending him to the Phantom Zone. Like that's what we're
Yeah.
But Jimmy's just like the Phantom Zone, but there's no like exit ride out. Like we can't get him back from there. And she's just like, well, what choice do we have if we're really facing an evil Superman? Like we have to do what we can to get rid of him. And she's like, he could crack the earth in half. He could enslave humanity. Like, we got to use the Phantom Zone. He's like, no. He saved my life zillions of times. Like, there's got to be a third option. It's the Doomsday, right? That's the third option. So, evil Superman's now in Metropolis battling all these, like, Bizarro, like, I think they're supposed to be, like, kryptonite-infused kind of Bizarro creatures, and obviously they're not doing anything to him right now. As they land, though, Superman is talking kind of more like Bizarro because he's like still strong as ever was. Where I am, Lois Lane. But Jimmy shows up and goes, Superman, I can't let you embarrass yourself like this. And Superman looks at him and goes, you? And he like uses his fire vision and Jimmy kind of like ducks out of the way. And he's like, what is it with you? And there's like a battle to get out of it. And you think that he's going to use this formula that he has on Superman.
Yeah.
Because he's like, what are you doing? Like, that can't penetrate my skin. Like, I'm indestructible. He's like, you and that dumb gun at me? Like, say bye-bye, hand. And that's where he shoots it. And it hits the little wristwatch again. And that saves Jimmy, thankfully, because it's an indestructible watch. But Jimmy, shoots himself with the gun and transforms into Doomsday. Doomsday Jimmy Olsen, essentially.
Okay.
And so Doomsday Jimmy Olsen does clobber Superman.
Is that what we're getting? Are we getting a Doomsday Superman?
No.
Okay.
Not in this.
No. I mean in the movie.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
You think it's Bizarro?
I think that Ultraman's Bizarro, yeah.
Okay.
Or it is some version of like Ultraman, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And so that's the thing. But he's still hearing the countdown. Like they're still using they're counting down for the Phantom Zone canon. Like 28, 27. Like you're still getting countdowns as Jimmy's trying to like subdue Superman. And Superman's just like, what am happened to me? No fair. Me get weaker. Me am die now? No die. Me scared. No die. No can die. Am Superman. No can die. And the whole time, like, it's kind of sad as he's like cowering there.
You got to give it up for that watch band.
You do. Oh, it stretch, yeah. But it's just still, it's a very powerful moment of like you have a cowering Superman and the band's still going off.
Uh-huh.
And about that time, like Jimmy is like coming out of like whatever the little shot he was given as he's like comforting Superman and like holding him there. And these guys come up and he tells them, he's like, don't let anybody see him like this. Like, you hear me? Like,
okay, naked man that was a monster 5
he
minutes
is.
ago.
Well, these people come up and they're like, excuse me, I know this is going to sound insane, but Nathan and I are the producers of the Broadway smash Frankenstein on Ice. Frankenstein on Ice, I should say, that didn't come out of nowhere. That's brought up at the beginning.
Okay.
When Lucy Lane is talking about him being the worst dressed, she's like, I was invited on a date by Rock Handsome, I think he's an astronaut, to go see Frankenstein on Ice. Like, it's brought up at the beginning.
Frankenstein on Ice.
Yeah. It's kind of funny.
Great
But
sounding show.
they go, here are some VIP tickets for opening night. You and Superman just saved our lives from that terrible monster, which they saw the Doomsday that Jimmy was. And he goes, huh? And so then Jimmy's kind of like recuperating in bed and he's just sitting there and he's thinking to himself, the best for a day ever. And I can't even tell anyone about it.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Because he doesn't want like people to see Superman like that.
Yeah.
And so, like, they're just like, the inert black K sample is safe in a lead line gravity box, something for your trophy room. And he's like, what a nightmare. And Jimmy kind of tells him, he's like, the black K Superman was everything you're not. A bully, a coward, a liar. And he goes, the weird thing is, the worse he acted, the weaker you became. And Superman's just like, just as well. Like, I hope you'll take everything I said back there with a pinch of salt. Like, I didn't mean any of that, Jimmy. And he's like, I can't thank you enough, but I'm glad as always that, I can count on my pal, Superman's pal, Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
And then he's about to check out where he goes, Mr. Olsen, we just used our entire annual budget in one day. How do I explain this to Mr. Quintum? And Jimmy's like, I checked like the secret project's bank accounts in Zurich. There's literally like an infinity sign in the credit column. So you don't have to, or you have unlimited resources. So don't come at me with this. Oh, like, we spent our annual budget in a day.
Yes, She-Hulk.
And she goes, you can't know that. And he goes, no firewalls, Olsen proof. Also, I still have 10 hours left of being the project dictator, and I have a couple of last requests, including a large-scale, short-term cosmetic alteration to the moon, which I'd like you to commission. And what we get is Jimmy shown up in one of Quintum's rainbow robes.
Yeah.
And he asked Lucy, like, how'd the date with Rock go? And she goes, he was arrested for selling mind-bending Mars rocks on eBays. And she goes, what was your assignment? You missed Superman beating up some monster downtown. And he goes, it was Boresville. I didn't get to make the assignment. It was nothing. But I thought that maybe if you weren't busy and, like, he has the tickets, like, we could go see a coat or go see the play. Oh, by the way, have you seen the moon? And what do you think? Did my curse wear off? And if you look at the moon, it says, I love Lucy on there. Mm-hmm. And she goes, Jimmy Olsen, get over here. And that ends that issue.
Smoochville.
How did you make the moon like that? And he goes, magic. Or I guess magic. I don't know. Like spirit fingers.
He does that.
Magic. Yeah.
Well, okay. Jimmy rode on the moon.
He did. So now we get issue 5, which is a Lex Luthor focused issue. And you can see him in prison there. But we get Luthor in prison, and it's Attila the Hun, Genghis Khan, Al Capone, Adolf Hitler, Lex Luthor. He's like, you freely admit that these vile and appalling criminals are the men you revere above all heroes and all role models. Like, the judge is just sitting there, and what he does is he just kind of unbuttons them. And he's like, you've done all this to try to, you've done terrible things. And Luthor's argument is just like, Superman made me do it. He should be on trial here. And they're like, put me away, you senile, sweaty toad. Get this farce over with. Like, Luthor just does not care. And the judge is like, all right, it gives me pleasure to deliver this verdict. Guilty on all counts of crimes against humanity. The sentence is death in the electric chair.
That's a bad one.
Yeah, is what they sentence Luthor to death. And he just sits there, and he has a very smug smile on his face. And we see Clark flying over in a helicopter, a little bit nervous, as we get the title for our issue of The Gospel According to Lex Luthor. What happens is Clark has been granted Clark has been granted an exclusive interview with Lex Luthor for the Daily Planet.
Okay.
And so he's shown up there on death row to, conduct this interview. And he is the robot that he is working on that he introduces that is essentially a roving library that he has created that's called the Billabot Mark II. And what he has made, it follows him around and it reads out different books to him. He's like, it can read anything from Ulysses to A Tale of Two Cities to Dickens, because it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. And he's just kind of showing off his skill. And what Clark is doing is showing off his oafishness as he trips over the electrical cord and the gun there. And a little small explosion happens. And it's a funny moment as the smoke's all there and he stands back up. And Luthor goes, how ironic is it here that I'm here on death row, courtesy of evidence gathered by your newspaper, The Daily Planet. And Clark's like, yeah, that is kind of ironic. And he goes, wow, doesn't that make you wonder then about that back there? You tripping there? But yet somehow these people have somehow overmanaged to overlook the high voltage death trap. He's making a joke of oh, maybe I tried to kill, about just Clark being an oaf. But you're going to find there is a very just just Lex knows everything.
Okay.
He's just so. We'll get to it. He's sitting there and he's working out to get better, and he's telling things to Clark. He's just this would never have happened. If anyone else on this planet had the wit to see it. That smug self-regard, the powers, his beaming boyish grin. How does a man like you feel about Superman, honestly? And Clark's just I'm fine with him. He's always been friendly around the office. And Lex goes, and you don't feel in any way diminished by his very presence on this planet? Huh, strange. And Clark goes, our jobs don't tend to overlap. I'm a reporter about it.
Sure.
Yeah. He goes, speaking of which, as my job as a reporter, that is. And Lex goes, what is that? What are you writing about me? And he grabs his notepad and he's like, just a bunch of intangible squiggles. And he's like, I can mentally crack any code in less than a minute. Hold on, give me a second. He's looking at
That's
it.
Quite a thing to say.
It is. And then Clark just sits there and holds his glasses and he's like, it's shorthand, Lex.
Yeah.
And he's like, shorthand? What kind of a ridiculous affection is this for a man?
I can clean any floor.
Yeah. And he's just like, well, really, it's one of the things that I can't seem to work around electronic recorder. He goes, why don't you use a recorder like everybody else? And he's like, I can't seem to make those things work around me for some reason. Also, I picked it up from Ma. She taught me shorthand, and so I use it when I do
Did
papers.
I tell you the thing I was impressed with in the Superman trailer for the new movie whenever he sits down with the interview with Lois Lane? Did I tell you about that?
What's up?
It says, what's the guy who owns the corp?
Lord Tech?
Yeah.
Maxwell Lord?
Yeah, so she puts her little recorder down, and at the top of it, it says Lord Recorder or whatever, right?
Lord Tech, yeah. If you notice, their computers in the Daily Planet are like that, too.
Are they?
Yeah.
That's really small details that make it go a lot further with me.
Yep.
That's pretty
It's
awesome.
all Lord Tech stuff.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And so, anyway.
Well, I mean, I'm just talking about from James Gunn's perspective.
No, for sure.
That's a guy who has completely immersed himself.
For sure. I get that. I agree with you.
Because you could have sold the rights to that to Sony or somebody, and said, here, put your name at the top of these recorders. That's a free advertisement for you, basically, or pay us to advertise your product.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So
But there's no way to look at Lex Luthor and not think Mr. Clean.
he does look very Mr.
Yeah.
Cleanish in this.
Well, he's got the white shirt, too.
Yeah. So he's just like, shorthand. All right, fine. That gives me something else to learn. And he like tosses it back to him. Like he's not happy.
Everyone's shorthand.
But that's the thing is like, that's Luthor in this. It's just like he's obsessed with learning and wanting to know everything. And so he's just working out and he's like, imagine life on this world if some opportunistic alien vermin hadn't decided to like, dump its trash here, Kent. That's all I've ever asked anyone to do. Is just imagine a world where he didn't exist, right? Think about it. Without Superman to sit here and just to be in our way all the time. Perhaps, cool, cruel Lois Lane might actually have noticed good old Clark Kent signed faithfully there in the corner. And he goes, why aren't you blushing? I know you have feelings for her. And Clark's just like, this is an interview about us. Remember this exclusive you promised my editor? And he goes, I'm just saying, a tall, strapping Midwestern farm boy with with brains, integrity, and no style of his own. And that's a prize for any cynical city girl. Throw in some weight training, and your flabby physique of yours could even, rival Superman's. Like, that's the thing I was talking about. As you can tell, look at the way he draws Clark. It's more of like even just his shoulders are hunched.
Yeah.
It's just he looks different in the way he's drawn.
Yeah. Lex has kind of a point here.
He does.
If Superman had never come to the planet, do you have all the disruptions and the stuff he has to save you from? You know what I mean?
That's the Batman argument.
Chicken or egg.
But that's the Batman argument too. Is does Batman create the villains that he fights? And he goes, I don't know about that. I presume you'll be launching an appeal. Like he's trying to get back on topic.
Would Lex even be that way?
That's true. That's a very good point. Well, he wouldn't have lost his hair, we found out.
Well, that's true. He blew all those chemicals at him.
Yeah, but he's like...
Unknown chemicals.
But next to him, she sees an oaf, a dullard, a cripple. Next to all-powerful Superman, Lex Luthor is an idiot. And you know what, Kent? She'll never see past him to you.
Yeah.
And that's and so like Clark jumps and he hides behind the weights and he's like, are you trying to intimidate me, Lex? And Lex is like, no, we all fall short of that sickening inhuman perfection, that impossible ideal. Feel that, Kent? Come on, feel this. And he like wants him to feel his muscles.
Yeah.
And Clark's like, yeah, okay. And he does that there.
Weird.
He's like, impressive. You sure don't act like a man facing imminent death.
I like how short he is.
He is. Like, that's the thing, too. He is shorter than Clark. He's like, I don't, do I? Hands off, Kent. So, how's Superman these days? Pale? Tired? And Clark goes, he seems just fine. And Lex goes, but he's not. He only looks that way. And he just kind of goes out amongst the people and he starts talking to me more about how he would, where does he talk about? Just like getting rid of Superman, about him being like a plague and a parasite.
Yeah, sure.
And about that time, we hear, I'll gut you, Luthor, suck you dry. You see that quote, somebody yelling down there. And we see what it is. And then he goes, but that parasite doesn't scare me. Brains beats brawn every time. And he's talking to Clark. And then Clark goes, that parasite. And things start clicking for him because Parasite, the character, is brought in who feeds off like energy.
Yeah.
And he's like, Luthor, you hear me, Luthor? Got you. And he's starting to like draw energy off the things that are touching him, like that he can suck it off. And he's able to break free from them. Because like Superman's like, why is he in here? Why is he not behind like lead, like containment? If he touches me, like he's going to be able to absorb all my power. Like we're screwed.
Right.
So he's like, I can't be in here. I can't let him touch me. And what they do is they use it as a prison break in a way. And Luthor is going through still like going on and on about Superman, like, as they're trying to get out of here. And he's like, but Luthor goes, you're under my protection now, Kent, in my world. Like, stick by me. I'll get you out of this prison riot as everybody's trying to escape, is what he tells him. But you see, there's a guy behind who, like, sticks up for a gun. Yeah. And Clark pretends to, like, officially fall forward and push the gun up into his face. Like, he's saving Lex throughout this whole thing and acting like an idiot to do it. And, like, the gun goes off and like shoots up in the ceiling, and like Lex is like, you fool, like you could have, hit me and stuff like that. They go to leave and there's people behind him, and like, Clark turns and uses his freeze breath to like pause them and stuff.
Not the suck breath.
Not the suck breath. Yeah. No.
What was it called?
His vacuum breath.
Vacuum breath.
Yeah, no, not the vacuum breath.
I sucked real hard and a glass hit me in the face.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Superman.
So Lex and Clark are escaping, and Superman is still using his powers like in there to save them. Like Superman has also been able to like get all the guards out of there, like on top of the roof, and like, how did we go up here? And they're like, oh, Superman. And as they're going through, like, there's a point where he's rubbing his eyes and he's like pretending to look for his glasses. And Lex is like, come on, you don't need them. And Clark's like, no, I need him to see. And as Lex like turns away, you know, Superman looks up and uses his heat vision to like get the sprinklers to go off kind of and stuff. Like he's using all of his powers the whole time.
Yeah.
I love that little bit.
Oh, no, it's cool. Yeah.
But Parasite is still...
That is very Christopher Reeve Superman.
Yes.
You know?
Yep. And Parasite is kind of hunting down Lex this whole time, just wanting to kill and devour him. And what happens is Lex ends up shooting at him, like shooting guns at him, or shooting the gun that he had from earlier at him. And Clark tells him like,
one gun.
Yeah, like he's going to take all the energy from those bullets and like grow even bigger. What are you doing? But what it does is it causes him to kind of grow too much and get too big and collapse down into...
here we go.
Yeah, the prison there. And as they get to him and they pull himself from the rubble, Lex like kind of stands up and he's like, I guess that was too much for him. And Clark goes, I guess so. Poor man. His own greed engulfed him. And Lex goes, see what happens to anyone who crosses me, Kent? Anyone who underestimates Lex Luthor? Liquefying. And that's exactly how he'll look. That's how Superman will look at the end. Nobody threatens me. Nobody what does that say?
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Why can I not read
No
that?
one gets in Luthor's way.
No one gets in Luthor's way.
Yeah, that's
like
a weird font
kicks
to
it
choose.
In. And he's like, Lex, my
Plus
shorthand can't. Yeah, but I love Clark goes, Lex, my shorthand can't handle the volume. And I love this part as they're like climbing all back, and he's like, anybody else would challenge my ideas, you know, about you. All right, didn't think so. I'm walking straight back to my cell on death row. You want change?
Monkey?
It is. He goes, you want change? Wait for my signal. And Clark goes, I'll tell them how you helped me out, quelled the riots, Lex. I know you're not all bad. And Lex goes, I've always liked you, Kent. You're a humble, modest, uncoordinated human. He goes, you're everything he's not. Talking about Superman.
Yeah, it still amazes me that he has no idea.
Yeah, and I love that too. That Superman is saving him the whole time while he is talking so much trash about him. I mean, he goes, but you're just another weapon in my war against Superman. Watch how easily I make you, your paper, and the entire penal system seem completely unreliable.
Penal.
Yeah, and then it's a quote. And the inimitable Lex Luthor opened up the floor and shook hands with a baboon in a Superman suit. And he just sits there and shakes it and goes, evening, Leopold, as he sits there like basically trying to be like, yeah, print that in your paper. Like, get away, you know, and that's the point. Like,
that's
he's
so
just
weird. Yeah.
But I think it's also a move by Lex of like, I can do anything I want.
Oh, I get it. Yep. It's like a farce. I understand. He's showing that he can do whatever. They can't get to him. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, and then he opens up from his cell, like stares down, and he goes,
no one puts Lex in the corner.
Your escape route, Kent. Like, it showed the way out. And as he walks down with him there, and he goes, literally, like, you know, we made this passageway out. And by the way, here is lovely, lovely Natasha, I cannot say her name there. Nostalgia? She says, call me nasty.
Nostalgia taint? Is that what it is?
Just nostalgia.
Okay.
Here, we'll take you back to land of the living, and I wait the end. She's 18. She speaks 30 languages and wants to rule the world one day. Or rule the world one day.
Why does
Bless
he
her.
tell him she's 18?
I don't know. And she just goes, call me nasty. Eyebrow,
that
Lexi.
gets even weirder.
Well, no, and then she goes, eyebrow, Lexi, eyebrow. And you see him turn around and with the pencil, like, color on and then turn back. You see that? Well, it's because I think in all the explosions of the...
They got blown off?
Yeah, it got blown off.
Yeah.
And so as he's sitting there, he goes, what are you looking at, Kent? And he goes, nothing, like my glasses completely blind. You could have escaped anytime you wanted to, Lex. And he goes, I'm going to the chair for Phil. Don't worry about me. I have friends in high places. And Superman he can't get this. He's like, I don't understand this. Like, you and Superman could have been friends. And Lex goes, are you insane? I'm a born dictator. And Superman goes, and you'll die like a mad dog in the yard. Think straight of this, Lex. And he goes, oh, no. He'll die first. I used the sun itself, Kent. The source of his powers to overload his cellular batteries and destroy him from within. Do you understand? I killed Superman. And he goes, he doesn't want the world to know he's dying, of course. So break the news gently. Take your exclusive there, Kent. And Clark's just like, you can't prove that. And he goes, I place his beloved truth in your hands. Strike with me. You wanted my story, the gospel of Lex. Well, now you have it. There's no deep psychology behind the struggle between Superman and me. It's very simple. How would you feel if someone deliberately stood in your way over and over again? If it wasn't for Superman, I'd be in charge of this planet. And now he's dying. What more could I want? And then it just shows Clark kind of being, paddled out. And she goes, where to now, Mr. Kent? So it takes us to issue 3, which is our final issue of this episode and for this week.
Yeah.
Also, you get to see this was an Eisner Award winner for the series.
It's also Crypto.
There is Crypto. We do get Crypto here. And before we get to this issue, Mike, I kind of teased a little bit. I had let me find the image of it here, a tweet from Discussing Film that is a quote from David Cornsweet about All-Star Superman that I thought I would include here while we're on this. And it says that he talked about how the panel where he's observing Earth from the moon, to me, that defines him, that solitude, that longing tied to it. He wishes everyone could see the world the way he sees it, that they could be the hero they want to be, that they could feel what he feels. And I thought that, that's, again, a reference to the movie and what he took from it.
I've seen that juxtaposition before, and that's really cool because I think it's James Gunn actually says, that was something that he basically just lifted from the comics.
Yep. But so again, I'm just adding our inspiration from All-Star Superman, the movie we have. Let's go ahead and get into the issue. And what this is a young Clark talking to Pa Kent. Yeah, and it's him and Pa out there like, Pa, you maybe can't imagine how it was for us. They're just kind of talking out there. You're like, me, Clark, I've never been much one for sitting in church, but what else could I do? I came right out here and I prayed and I figured nothing would happen, but I tried. Oh, they're talking about one thing after another about how they wanted a kid.
Child, yeah.
Yeah, he goes, then one night, not long after that, you came. Makes you wonder, huh? And Clark's just kind of looking up in the sky. And he's like, a childless couple. Blessed from above by me. Like, that's how I just imagine with that hand there. But that's what I like that.
Yeah.
He's like, how does that happen? But he's still like, you can tell by the way, I love the art too, of how he's like ruffling his hair.
That should be Stephen Root.
In a way.
Yeah.
But here's the one thing I'll add too. And maybe it's just me, but Ma and Pa Kent feel like Ma and Pa Kent. I really like that. Like, they don't feel like Kevin Costner didn't feel like
You
Pa
talking about
Kent.
in the movie?
In the movie.
Oh yeah.
Kevin Costner doesn't feel like
No,
Pa
they're supposed
Kent.
to be regular farmers. Yeah,
And
they're
that's
supposed to
what
be
this
regular
feels
people.
like. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not Kevin Costner.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And then Crypto shows up there too. You get a wolf.
What was the deal with those Kevin Costner movies that lost so much money? He just made like a couple of westerns and like spent all the money he had on them or whatever.
Oh,
And then they like failed and everybody said they suck.
poor marketing. I don't know. I didn't watch any of it.
Yeah, it's weird. He quit Limestone to be on that.
Oh, Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Crypto shows up. He's apparently hasn't been around for a while.
Yeah.
Because he's like, where have you been? Crypto, come on. Well, you want to know where he's been? Remember in Superboy, he just went out there and wandered.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It would make sense. He would just randomly show up.
He just shows up.
That's another one. We covered Crypto's origin, too.
Yeah.
So Superboy's like, he gets the idea of playing fetch with him with a tree.
Why are you chewing on those girders?
Yeah.
Crypto.
Here's a tree. And so they play fetch with a tree.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And they go out like into space to play fetch.
Yeah.
And there's a nice moment between like Ma and Pa, and she's like, he's like, I stopped listening to my Pa when I was his age, like that's okay. But Ma's like, the land's not looking too good. Like, it's starting to be kind of pale out here. And he's like, oh, he can fly. Like, let him go out there and have fun kind of thing. He doesn't belong on a farm. Maybe none of us do anymore. But about that time, this man shows up, and he's like, evening, folks. I hear you're on the lookout for some good men to help for the harvest. And you get the title, Funeral in Smallville. Superman's out playing with Krypto. There's the panel that we just talked about there.
That's cool.
It's him and his dog just sitting on the moon looking back at Earth, and I do always love that panel. When Clark gets back,
the vastness of that crater.
Oh, that's a very vast. I wonder if they
that's
created
very cool.
it. But it's Clark waking up in the morning back at the Smallville farm, and Paul introduces him to some new.
Is that Mixoplex?
Introduces him to some new workers, right? It's not directly Mixoplex.
Number one, it's Mixoplex. Number two, it's Bizarro back there with the bandages on his face.
Hold it.
Okay.
Just wait.
All right. Okay.
Just wait.
All right.
But Paul introduces him to the new farmhands that are going to help out there with the harvest. It's like they need help at the farm, so Clark's off at college and stuff, so like they're going to help out with the harvest and stuff.
Sure.
And he's kind of introducing him there. Clark goes and hangs out with Lana Lang and
I don't think it's weird. There's a little
Pete
tiny
Ross.
dude with a purple hat.
He's not floating. He's just walking.
Yeah, but look at him.
He's right there too.
Yeah, but he looks like looks like a Oompa Loompa.
So, but Clark is sitting there on top of Water Tower listening, like he's hearing things. And he's just like, Calvin Elder, that's the name of the guy.
Yeah.
That was there.
He introduced himself in the last.
Has superpowers and an action suit like mine. And here come the others. Krypto. Like they both think something's up and they're kind of watching from a distance.
Well, yeah, something's up.
Yeah. And they're like, I was too late to save him. And like, oh, the chronivore ate the poor man's entire life, but he didn't die in vain, Cal. Wait, I hear a distinctive heartbeat nearby, like an echo. And they figure out like, and what happens is he goes and sneaks up on them. These are all part of like the Superman like squad. These are all Supermen from different futures,
right?
From different dimensions,
right?
But they're all here on purpose because this monster called the chronivore is coming through and eating time, right? So they're back here to kind of like contain the beast and make sure it doesn't kill anybody, or like it essentially just sucked the entire life out of that man, just ate the time from him is what it did. So that's why they're all here in this time frame here. And they're like, sorry, we had to disguise ourselves, but as you can see, like my true form would probably attract a little too much attention. He's not Mixoplex, he's Kixelic because he's a Superman variant of it.
But yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. There's the unknown Superman of AD 4500. Remember, we saw him a little bit.
Yeah.
And then there's the Cal Kent was the one from the 8000 who was the first one that we saw too from the future. And they're just telling them that they're there. There's the chronivore.
Their haircuts suck in the future.
They do. There's the chronivore that they're there to kind of hunt and contain there. They have a battle between there, and they try to tell him not to get involved, right? Like, stand back, Clark. This is a job for the Superman squad. And they're like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm good with them. Like, this is my home. Like, these are my people to protect. Like, let me help. Superman wants to help. And they're like, no, we can't let you do that. You don't understand. And Clark is fresh. This is a young, Superman. Yeah. And so he kind of like zaps him to get away. He's like, I can take care of myself. And there's something weird about all you guys still that I just don't, all y'all being here. So he's going to try to help, like, stop this thing too. And Cal's just sounding like, don't be insane. I'm faster and stronger than you. You need to like listen. Like, and he tackles him. And he's like, I'm also telepathic. Like, you can't resist me. Your solar powers are in their infancy. You're not as strong or as smart or as fast as you will be. And he goes, oh, yeah? And about that time, Krypto comes and knocks Cal out of the way so Superman can get up. And he goes, but I have a dog. I can very much see a moment like that in the movie, too.
Absolutely, sure.
And Superman's going to try to stop this the chronivore there.
Yeah.
What we get is Jonathan, because the chronivore is leaving like a tornado type, thing happening.
Yeah.
So Jonathan, or Pa Kent, is out in the field looking at the tornado, and the bandaged guy, which is the bandaged Superman from earlier, walks up there with him, and he goes, heck of a harvest, Mr. Kent. And he's like, you boys done a fine job. I always say it's the work you put in that you get back. My wife wants us to stay back in Smallville, minding the general store. Puts her right at the heart of the business. She says, this is the end of the line for me and the farm. And then he sits there and he goes, he'll be okay, won't he, the boy? And the guy goes, it all comes out all right in the end, is what he essentially tells him as they're out there talking.
Yeah.
So Superman is back, and he goes to save the Mr.
So Mixoplex has shot a chain into this thing.
No, like
And
to
it's
try
dragging
to
him
try to
around?
capture it. Like he's hanging on to it to try to stay with it. Yeah,
Okay.
but it broke loose, and Superman's there, and he grabs the chain to try to stop him, and Kent has the dog stopped, and he's like, "I tried to warn you.
That's bad.
If you face the chronovore, it will eat a precious 3 minutes of your life, and in those 3 minutes, Jonathan Kent suffered a fatal heart attack." Remember how?
Yeah.
So this is a very big moment for Superman, and so Superman's trying to help with the chronovore
Yeah.
and stop him there. Sorry, all of a sudden he's just like, hold on, I can't hear this. I can't hear the heartbeat anymore. He's like, why can't I hear this Paul's heartbeat? Hold on, Paul, not Paul. And he's like flying.
Yeah.
And he's flying so fast to get there that his hair catches on fire.
That is pretty fast.
It is. And the line that gets it too is like, I can save him. I can save everybody.
Yeah. There he goes.
As Martha runs out there to Paul.
Yeah.
But obviously it's kind of too late. And then it is Clark at the funeral as he's kind of giving the eulogy, talking about how, like, he taught me to be strong, to stand up for the weak, that bullies don't like being bullied back.
Ma Kent kind of looks like she has a birdcage on her head.
She does a little bit. He's like, he taught me to be good. Good heart is worth more than all the money in the bank. He taught me about life and death. It's just like he's giving the eulogy for his dad.
And what's really cool is this guy in bandages just keeps following him around.
It is. Well,
So
just wait.
freaking weird.
He goes, he taught me that the measure of a man lies not in what he says, but what he does. And then he showed me by example.
Where did we hear that? That was just in something we did. The Measure of a Man.
Maybe it was in the Lex Luthor. Maybe they used it for that.
No, it was in something what did we do last week?
Lex Luthor.
Was it in that one?
I don't know. Maybe. It might have
It's been in something.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because I think he says it like 2 or 3 times just to like convince himself, and then he finally says it or
no,
something.
it's like it was our Lex Luthor one.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And he goes, and he showed me by example how to be tough and how to be kind and how to dream of a better world. Thanks, Pa. Those are lessons I'll never forget.
I like these little drips of stuff. Like you bring things back, you do callbacks, you do all this stuff, but it's all part of a bigger story.
It is
kind of cool.
And so like Clark is dressed up and ready to go to Metropolis because he's gonna like go, and he doesn't want to leave. And Ma's like, "There's nothing else for you here, like Clark. Like, you need to go." And Clark has a very tough moment. He's like, what's the point of all this? Like, with all my powers, like if I couldn't even save him. And he's like, and I didn't even get to say goodbye.
Well, it's the same thing with Spider-Man. Same deal. Like, I've got all the powers in the world, and I can do all these things, but I can't save the people I love.
Yeah, and then so from a distance, a very far distance, the rest of the Superman squad's there, and they're like, all right, the lightning door is open. And he's like, all right, we got to get exit, or we got to head back to our time. The chronovore is destined for,
Thank God he's
the
taking those
Zoo now.
bandages off.
Well, he goes, and thanks again. We couldn't have done it without you. And he's like, at last, I can take these bandages off to see that it's our actual Superman.
Huh.
And he tells them all, he's like, all right, thanks for one last time with my dad.
This is that gold overpowered Superman thing that they were talking about. Here's the thing. I don't know a lot about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
But little nuggets get dropped as I watch videos or we do stories or something. And he was talking about this gold Superman for some reason. And I don't remember exactly what it was, but it's when did this come out?
This came out in 2006.
Okay. All right. So it's a fairly recent Superman.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we found out it's like essentially he just thanks them all for like, let me have one more moment with my dad.
Yeah.
So, he was able to go back in time and do that. The gold Superman this was the day you joined forces with 3 generations of Supermen to chain the carnivore, another of your legendary 12 labors, I seem to recall. This is an indestructible flower from New Krypton, from him, from all of us, in remembrance of all that we are and all that we will be. And it just ends with him at Jonathan Kent's grave. And that's where it ends, issue 6 of All-Star Superman. This is big too.
It's a crazy ass packed thing here.
It is.
We're dealing with.
It is. We got
a lot of
we
shit in
got
it.
6 more issues. That's why I figured we would do it like this.
Holy farts.
Yeah, so we got 6 more issues to finish it all out. Next week we will do 7, 8, and 9, and then 10, 11, and 12. But
Next
there you
week
go.
we'll do 10, 11, and 12, and then
we'll
the
be
next
done
week
with
we'll
all
do
stuff.
7, 8, and 9.
And then we'll be done. But there you go. That is All Star Superman Part 2, Part 3, and 4 next week. As always, thank you guys for taking the time out to watch and to listen to all the comments you leave. We can't thank you guys enough.
Let me say one thing.
Yeah.
So normally, I do like I love doing this show with you because it's something different every week, right? But we do get to carry over some stuff. And every once in a while we hit one that shows me why you love comics so much.
Yeah.
And it's because it can be insane, but also part of a bigger overall
connected story.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's cool. No. I tell you what, it takes a hell of a talent to be able to take something so freaking crazy and turn it into something that people actually care about.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely both did an amazing job with this.
Cool.
This is both like, Tom King, Mark Waid, both of them love. Even it's cool when the writers you love and enjoy are like, I love this. You know what I mean? But
yeah, they actually they tell you how great it is also, and the fact that these superior writers and artists, that have proved themselves over and over again, come back to this main character because they see what an anchor it is to the entire universe that they deal with,
Exactly.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, so more to come next week. Thank you guys.
That's about as deep as I get.
And it is very deep.
Rough.
It is very deep. Thank you guys for taking the time out to listen, to watch, as always.
Yep.
Until next week, stay safe, everybody.
Golly to the con.
Pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.